Nick Saban runs a fine-tuned machine in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Not many of their players end up becoming troublemakers or cause a lot of drama off the field. The guy that most people think about as a drama queen from the past season was tight end Jaleel Billingsley. He decided to enter the portal and he eventually went over to Texas. Now we had a little bit more drama this week as sophomore wide receiver Agiye Hall reportedly was taken off the Alabama roster, had a tweet, and eventually Nick Saban clarified everything. But there was also more to the story. Agiye Hall entered the transfer portal this afternoon, and he'll be looking for a new big-time college football program to take his talents to. In today's video, I thought I'd bring you guys up to speed on what's going on with Agiye Hall, introduce you to who he is, what could happen to him next, and overall my thoughts on the situation. So, without further ado, let's get into today's video. For some reason, I struggled to find a lot of background info on Agiye Hall, but what I do know is he grew up in the state of Florida and was always a big-time athlete. When he eventually got to high school, people could see his potential, and he became a 4-star recruit and someone that schools were going after all 4 years of high school. When it came time to commit, he chose Alabama over the likes of LSU, Georgia, and Oklahoma, and many other offers. Why Alabama? Well, he had this to say, quote, "I love the program. It's competitive, it's nice and simple. And they do things 100%. They do pass the ball a lot, and they love to utilize the wide receivers. They also love to utilize them in the run game, and I like the block. So yeah, I kind of fit there." Alabama is the most desired school in college football, and recently, if you want to become a first-round pick as a wide receiver, Alabama is the place to be. Physically, Agiye Hall was next up. Going into Bama, he was 6'3" and 190 pounds and had the size and frame of an NFL receiver as he posted a 4.5 40 and had a 37.5-inch vertical. The coaching staff could not wait to fine-tune him when he would get to Alabama, but there was one problem and one little red flag with Hall, is that he could never seem to find his fit at one school. He went to 3 different schools in high school, and he had this to say, quote, "I've had a rough high school career, and I know Saban's developed a lot of players there through the NFL. In high school, I've been to a couple of schools, and it looks pretty bad, as I really couldn't find the perfect fit for me, and it kind of hurt me that it showed people I can't commit to things." Depending on which Alabama fan I talk to, some would say he's doing that right now at Alabama, others would say he's making the best decision for himself. You can debate either way, but he did start his high school career at Armwood High School, before eventually deciding to go to IMG and later flipping to Bloomingdale. A lot of times, those journeyman high school players end up transferring when they get to college. I've seen it many times. As a fun fact, former Alabama and current Cincinnati star running back Jerome Ford went to the same high school as him and helped pave the way for him to go to Bama. According to 24/7 Sports, Hall was a 4-star recruit, the number 5 receiver, and the 45th best player in the class of 2021. He joined a pretty good freshman class and was extremely highly touted going into Bama. Honestly, he would turn heads right away. Last April in the spring game, he caught 4 passes for 72 yards, including that awesome one-handed catch on the sideline, which had many people thinking this guy could be next up. He would play in their opening game against Miami, where he'd catch 1 pass for 10 yards. Between that and the game against New Mexico State, he did not register a single stat, but it's not like he wasn't in the news. After the Mississippi State game, he was frustrated and took to Twitter. Eventually, this led to him not dressing for the Tennessee game, and Nick Saban also talked about how some players weren't working hard at practice. Maybe it's him, maybe it's not, but either way, Agiye Hall seemed to be in the doghouse with Saban. Eventually, though, the Tide would need him as they lost Jamison Williams and John Mechie in the national title game, so he had to step in, and he played the majority of his snaps all year in that game. He ended up catching 2 passes for 52 yards, both of which were extremely important, and while they did lose, many were seeing him as one of the next guys up for 2022. So in total, he finished the year at 4 catches for 72 yards. With Jamison Williams, Slade Bolden, and John Mechie all leading for the NFL, there was opportunity for one guy to step up and become the number 1 receiver for Bryce Young next year. Many people look to Georgia transfer Jermaine Burton, some think Trayshawn Holden and Ja'Cory Brooks would step up, and others thought it would be Agiye Hall. Well, that's probably not going to happen. A couple days ago, there was a report that he was no longer listed on the roster, and what did Hall do? He took to Twitter. He quote tweeted a report about him not being on the roster and said, quote, "News to me, but FS," meaning for sure. From there, things quickly spiraled out of control as Nick Saban had a press conference and said that Hall was suspended and would have an opportunity to work himself back onto the team. That is not what would end up happening though, as today we found out that Hall entered his name into the transfer portal and he will try to find a new school. There's probably something going on behind the scenes here, as maybe there are disagreements between Hall and the staff. Either way, it probably looks like it's best for Hall to enter the portal and find a new school. To me, honestly, it seems he was kind of unofficially kicked off the team and didn't really have much of a choice. Some will say the dude is immature, but positive people will just say it's time for him to move on and hopefully find a better fit for him. So in terms of where he could go next, I have a couple of ideas. Usually when someone goes through a tough life situation, they want to be closer to home and closer to their family. So that leaves a couple of options. Schools like Florida State, Florida, and Miami ultimately come to mind, and then another program such as LSU also comes to mind. LSU had a lot of attrition at the wide receiver spot this past offseason, so maybe he'll go there. But he's way too talented not to play at a high Power 5 level, so I think he'll end up going back home to a Florida school. But I know as much as you guys, and if you have a better guess, let me know down below. Where do you think Agiye Hall will go? What is your opinion on the situation? And what topic should I do in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below, subscribe if you are new to the channel, smash that like button for the algorithm, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.